Hello, and welcome back to the video series about noble Roman families. Today we are talking about the family of Julii Caesares, and this is quite interesting family for many reasons, but obviously for having the one of the most best known Romans, if not the most best known Roman of all times, amongst its members. And why headline the divine revenge of Alba Longa? The Julii Caesares family originally claimed that they came from the city of Alba Longa. That was the ancient enemy of Rome that Rome conquered early on in its existence. And I think it's kind of appropriate that if the Rome had to fall and if the Republic had to end, then the ones who would end it would come from Alba Longa, because that was kind of poetic justice there of giving a revenge. And this is if we want to have some kind of historical romantic interpretation of events, then I think this would be quite fitting one to apply here. But okay, for today's agenda, what we are covering today, we will have overview on Julii Caesares, then look at some of those family branches and family connections, and see what kind of altogether overview we can have about this family, because I think it is very typical of how we approach Julii Caesares in the modern day, that we will forget that they were just one of the Roman families, and because of the overshadowing figure of Gaius Julius Caesar, that seems to kind of taking away all the attention away from the other members of the family, and it makes it difficult to kind of set them into same level as with other families, and I think it also gives us a great danger of having a deterministic view on history, that we will try to see everything in the light of what happened and how the Republic fell. And still the fact is that, for example, the marriages of the previous generations of Julii Caesares weren't made with the goal in mind that one day there will rise one of us who will destroy the Republic and make our family as the kings. So that's why it's very important that we will examine all of these Roman families, as Julii Caesares included, in their proper historical contexts, and understand the kind of background and processes that led into eventual outcomes, rather than trying to only see those things that support our view of the outcome. But okay, without further ado, to the matter at hand. Julii Caesares is old family, and how old exactly, that's a great question, and we don't know that. They themselves traced their family roots back into the very ancient times, those even almost mythical times, but what is the truth, we don't know. It's a patrician family, so we can be quite certain that it's a very old family in the Roman context, because there weren't any new patrician families created for a long time. And we might also believe that they are somehow related to the original Julii from Alba Longa, but we have lost all the evidence in the shadows of history in that sense that we would know for sure. It has been at consular level only since 157 BCE, so it rose into prominence very late compared to many other patrician families. And it's a small family, it has only a couple of branches, and only few generations are known to us. And if I would have to summarize them with one sentence, I would say that they are patrician with very strange acquaintances and connections, because they did align themselves with quite shady characters overall. Here is the overview of the family tree, and as you can see, it has quite a lot of members, and they are especially well known to us in the later times. So there is very little to go on for the earliest generations of Julii Caesares, and even the generations before the first consul of the family are pretty shady to us. We don't know who they were. We don't even have their names or any information about their career. There are two main branches, and all of them are both of them come from the sons of the praetor of 208, and both branches reach consular level, and they ally themselves with mostly with populist families, but this is a very, very broad generalization. And what we can see with the branches is that they work together quite closely. So this is a bit different from some of the families we have earlier seen. Different from, for example, of the Cornelii Scipiones that famously had even rivaling branches within the family. And what we can say about family culture, well, I think there seems to be a strain of opportunism, quite clear strain of opportunism in the family culture, and we can see that in the actions of many members of this family. And let's take a look at these two branches. And let's first start here, which is the first consular branch of the family. And here you can see the praetor of 208, Sextus Julius Caesar. It is possible that his father was also Julius Caesar, but we don't know if it was simply Lucius Julius or Lucius Julius something else than Caesar. So this is something of a bit of mystery for us, that how many generations of Julii Caesares there really were before the praetor of 208. So and whose sons became the originators of these family branches. And this praetor of 208 was a military leader, as far as we know, and he had his operations based in Sicily, and as his troops, he got the remains of the troops that had survived of the disastrous defeat at Cannae during the Punic Wars. And that's about all we know about him. We don't know exactly how well he did, or what sort of operations he did, or was it just simply retraining and reforming the troops from that. So we know very little about him. About his son, Lucius Julius Caesar, who was praetor in 166, we know a bit more. He was stationed in Gallia Cisalpina during his praetor command, and he had as his order from the Senate to prevent the local tribes to build a settlement at the site of the Roman city of Aquileia, but do this in diplomatic manner, not through hostilities or warfare. And that's what we know about him. What we also know is that Aquileia became eventually one of the largest ancient cities. So it is quite probable that this Lucius Julius Caesar succeeded in this mission from the Senate. At least we don't have any particular reason to believe otherwise. Son of Lucius Julius Caesar became the first consul of the family at 157, and he may have had some role in the war against the Greek cities 10 years later, when, for example, Caecilius Macedonicus won his triumph, but we don't know for sure. He is somehow connected to these, but the connection is quite unclear, and we don't have evidence about that. But in any case, these two sons of the Praetor 208 are the originators of these two family lines. Of the sons of the consul of 157, the first consul of the family, his elder son was Praetor at 123, but that's all we know about him. And the younger son was senator in 129, but we don't know anything else about his career. And he took part with his sons in the fight against the tribune Saturninus. And this quite probably means that he was on the conservative leaning in the politics, at least allied with conservative elements of the Senate. This Senator Caesar married Popilia, who previously had been married with the elder Catulus. And elder Catulus was, of course, one of the leading elements of the conservative members of the Senate, so this kind of fits into that picture. And Popilia might have been from Popilii Lenates, and and in this case he would be the mother of both consul of 102, Quintus Lutatius Catulus, as well as the consul of 90, Lucius Julius Caesar. And this is the reason why sometimes this younger Catulus is called Catulus Caesar for literary purposes, but that is obviously a very bad way of naming him, because there is nothing Caesarian in Catulus in that sense. But through Popilia there is, or might be, a family connection, and I believe the family connection is there through Popilii Lenates. It's a quite logical one. The other son of Lucius Julius Caesar, senator, and Popilia was Gaius Julius Caesar Strapo Vopiscus, and they had also a daughter, Julia Caesares, who married the dictator Sulla. And when you consider this evidence, is that it seems to connect this family line of Julii Caesares quite firmly with the conservative bloc at this moment. And when we look at the career of the consul of 90, Lucius Julius Caesar, he served in Macedonia after his praetorship, so there is another family connection here in the area of Macedonia. It might mean something, it might mean nothing, but it's a quite interesting one to note in any case. After his praetorship there, he was elected as consul. And his consulship was obviously dominated by the civil war, because it broke out, the social war. And he was appointed as the commander of the southern front as a consul, and his co-consul was commanding the northern front. So they divided the armies into two. The future dictator Sulla served under his command and continued in this command after Caesar left the scene. And when consul of 90 Caesar returned to Rome, he proposed a law that allowed that granted Roman citizenship to those Italian people that don't take part in the fighting against Rome. And this is quite widely considered to be kind of the turning point of the war that broke the Italian alliance against Rome and also won Rome quite a lot of goodwill among the Italian people who hadn't committed already in the fight. And this consul of 90, after his consulship, went on to serving in the social war, and he served under Pompeius Strapo. And he was even elected as censor in 89 with Licinius Crassus, who was the father of the future Triumvir Crassus. So this was kind of forming up connections for the future generations of Julii Caesares and Licinii Crassi. Both this consul of 90 and his brother Caesar Strabo were murdered by Marius at year of 87. and they were amongst the first ones to be killed, especially named by Marius. And I think this establishes beyond doubt that they were firmly Sullan in their political alignment. The son of Consul 90 and his wife Fulvia became consul at 64. And their daughter Julia married Marcus Antonius Creticus, and as such was also mother of the future triumvir Marcus Antonius. And this Marcus Antonius was one of these shady characters that Julii Caesares allied themselves with, because Marcus Antonius Creticus earned his nickname Creticus in quite negative way. He was notorious. He was appointed to protect the Mediterranean islands from the pirates. But what he did actually was that he plundered those provinces himself that he was supposed to protect against the pirates, and made the Cretan island to ally themselves with the pirates. And this Cretan alignment with the pirates earned this nickname Creticus for Marcus Antonius Creticus. And well, he was a quite bad apple amongst the Romans. And Creticus and Julia had 3 other children as well, added to the future triumvir Marcus Antonius. And after Creticus had died, the daughter of consul of 90 and Fulvia, Julia, married Publius Cornelius Lentulus Sura. And Sura is also a nickname that is perhaps not so kind or positive. And this Cornelius Lentulus got that nickname by event that happened between him and dictator Sulla. Sura means the calf, and it was the nickname that he got because the dictator Sulla was scolding him about in public that Lentulus had been embezzling some public money and had arranged public businesses poorly. And Lentulus didn't mind about this scolding about coming from other Cornelius, and he just lifted his toga and revealed his calf. And this was the kind of thing that you would do with young children when they had been behaving badly, that you would slap them there with the cane to the calf. And this kind of bodily punishment for some minor misdemeanor. And Sura was so arrogant that he was he was known from then on as Cornelius Lentulus Sura. Sura was actually elected as consul in 71, but he was dispelled from the Senate a year later for misbehavior. So, well, his career was scandalous as well. And he later joined the Catiline conspirators and tried to bribe a Gallic envoy in Rome to kill Consul Cicero in 63, but failed in this attempt. Sura and other Catilinian conspirators were killed, executed in the end of the year 63. So when we consider these husbands of Julia, Creticus and Sura, well, we can see what kind of characters they were. But beyond that, if we think what was the Julia's mission for the family, for the Julii Caesares family, it was clearly to extend their contacts beyond the Sullan circles. And I think these marriages are not anyhow coincidences. They are planned, part of the planned campaign to broaden the alignment of Julii Caesares with other families, and also to make Julii Caesares more independent from the family of dictator Sulla. And in some ways it's also interesting to note that both Antonius Creticus and Cornelius Lentulus Sura, they were both of kind of similar character as well. They were ambitious and unscrupulous and eventually unsuccessful, but obviously no one knew that in advance. They both had good family backgrounds, but they were both involved in these kind of very dubious attempts and suffered a humiliating defeat as a consequence. And when we consider these marriages of Julia, I think we can also speculate that Fulvia, mother of Julia, was involved in the selections of the husbands. And why is this? It is because Fulvia came from the family of the Fulvii Flacci, who were at their height of influence at this moment. Fulvia's father was consul of 125, Marcus Fulvius Flaccus, and his father, this father of his, a cousin and two uncles, as well as grandfather and great-great-grandfather, they all were consuls. So Fulvia came from a very well connected and very well placed family at the moment, and also an ambitious family. I think that goes without saying because of this success they had in elections and the influence that they had in the society. And this Flaccus was also allied with Sempronii Gracchi, and he was member in the land distribution committee of Gracchus. And when we consider all these influences and family background, I think we have to admit that Fulvia was actually ranking higher in influence than her husband Caesar, consul of 90. And marriage is, in that regard, a very interesting one in regarding the political alignment. And I think we can speculate that Fulvia and her family actually had more influence and role than Caesar himself in deciding the marriages of Julia, because both of the husbands of Julia actually resembled Julii Caesares in their background and in their ambition. So I think if we kind of discard the idea that Julii Caesares were anyhow powerful or overpowering family at the moment, then we can also admit that Fulvia probably had more influence than his husband in making some decisions. And how much Fulvia was influenced by his family members and all that is another question. But I think we must also consider this possibility when we are thinking about that why this family that was aligning itself with conservative elements choose this kind of Antonius and Lentulus Sura, who were quite probably, I think their character was clear for the contemporaries. I don't think that their actions became such a shock or big surprise that whoa, why they did that, because I think there had to have been some kind of idea that something like that could happen with them, even if you don't know that they will ultimately fail, but you will see that they are ambitious characters. I think that has to be certain. And then if you look at the other brother here, Gaius Caesar Strabo Vopiscus, and the picture of this family political strategy, I think, will get clearer, because Caesar Strabo was actually one of the allies of Saturninus. So he was acting in another direction than the others. And he was pontifex priest, and he was elected as an edile in the year when his brother was as a consul. So at that year, the family of Julii Caesares was very notable and very visible in the Roman politics. And what's interesting in Julius Caesar Strabo was that he candidated for consulship for 88, even while he hadn't been a praetor yet. And this actually makes him unqualified even to candidate for the position of consul. Romans weren't always particular about the exact legal requirements like age limits and so on, but to make exception, they needed to have some good reason for it at least, and there wasn't that kind of reason for Caesar Strabo, except of his ambition to get a command in the east for himself. That would become a very, very important one in any case. Everybody knows that. But in any case, he hadn't got any chance, and tribunes Publius Sulpicius Rufus and Publius Antistius were opposed of this. And you may remember Tribune Antistius as the father of the first wife of Pompeius Magnus. Caesar Strabo didn't reach consulship, and the consuls of the 88 were to be Dictator Sulla and Quintus Pompeius Rufus. And interesting thing is that the daughter of Caesar Strabo married Publius Sulpicius Rufus, who was the son of this tribune Rufus, who had opposed the candidacy of Caesar Strabo. So I think that's a quite interesting political move that first you oppose my candidacy, and then my daughter will marry your son. So make that make sense. And then it's also noteworthy here that Julia in this way was married to an ally of Marius, even while Caesar Strabo himself was visibly a Sullan supporter, and sister of the Caesar Strabo was married to Dictator Sulla himself. So here I think we are starting to arrive into conclusion about Julii Caesares' family strategy. As it was with his elder brother, consul of 90 Caesar, they wanted to align with both sides, and this is also part of the strategy to make the Julii Caesares less dependent on Dictator Sulla. And I think these family relations and marriages kind of reveal what their game plan really was here. Otherwise, Caesar Strabo was known to be a very good public speaker, and Cicero even used him as main character in one of his books about rhetorical skills. And in that book, Caesar Strabo especially talked about the importance of humor in the public rhetoric. We don't know if that was really exact characterization of his rhetorical skills, but Cicero had a tendency to be very diligent in these matters, so I think we may even believe that Caesar Strabo was especially good at using humor in public speeches. Caesar Strabo also wrote at least 3 plays, so he was a playwright as well. And this is by far not the only example of talent for literature in the Julii Caesares family, and I think we even could go as far as say that Julii Caesares had several so literally talented members of the family that this literary talent was one of the hallmarks of the Julii Caesares family. The last important member of this line of the Julii Caesares was the consul of 64, Lucius Caesar. And his life really was dominated by the balancing act between family and the state. He had many decisions during his lifetime that he had to balance, that is his loyalty more to the family or more to the state, and how he would negotiate that problematic. For example, he was amongst those ex-consuls who decided that all Catilinarian conspirators would be executed. and this means that he was deciding about the killing of his sister's husband Lentulus Sura, which even if we probably can agree that Lentulus Sura was quite unpleasant character, still it was the husband of his sister. Between the years of 52 and 49, this consul of 64, Lucius Julius Caesar, was with his relative Gaius Julius Caesar as a legate in Gallia. Gaius Caesar was there in long provincial command and had a great ambition to become a conqueror of all Gallia. And when the Senate ordered Gaius Caesar to give away his command, obviously we know that Gaius Caesar did not obey, but instead crossed the Rubicon and started the civil war against the Senate forces. And this consul of 64, Lucius Caesar, rode alongside with his relative back then. And this is one of the examples how the two family lines really deeply cooperated and were deeply aligned and came for each other's help in the time of great crisis. And also example of this is that Gaius Caesar left Lucius Caesar to be in charge of Rome, while Gaius Caesar campaigned all over Mediterranean against the forces of the Senate and Pompeius Magnus. And that's also further evidence how close they were, despite belonging into different family lines. And when Gaius Caesar was murdered in 44, Lucius Caesar left Rome and went into Neapolis, that is Naples, to stay out from the power struggles in Rome. But eventually he decided to return to Rome, and he aligned himself with Cicero and the Senate against Marcus Antonius. And why this is remarkable is that Marcus Antonius was his sister's son. So he was taking part of making the decision about the execution of his sister's first husband, and then he was aligning himself with the Senate against his sister's son from the second marriage. But it has to be said to his honor that he opposed declaring Antonius as an enemy of the state. And high point of career of Lucius Caesar was when he was appointed as princeps senatus. So it was a great honor for him to reach that position. And when Antonius suffered defeats in the battles, Lucius Caesar was amongst the first ones of the senators to support declaring Antonius as the enemy of the state, thereby switching sides now. Now he was clearly against Antonius. But what Antonius did, he formed the triumvirate and allied with Octavianus. And Lucius Caesar was named at the list of proscriptions by Antonius, and Lucius Caesar had to flee to the house of his sister. Remember that he was responsible of execution of the first husband of this sister and declaring the second and declaring the child from the second marriage of this sister as an enemy of the state. And that was the house that he chose to escape into at the time of need, and who was the mother of Marcus Antonius. And interestingly, his sister defended him by saying to the soldiers who were coming after Lucius Caesar that those soldiers would first have to kill mother of Marcus Antonius before they could kill Lucius Caesar. And that saved the life of Lucius Caesar. I think that's a quite intensive family drama there. And interestingly, Lucius Caesar lived into old age. And last thing we know about him, that he was an augur priest in the year 40. His son died earlier. He fought alongside Cato against Gaius Caesar and died after the defeat in Utica. So very turbulent life of this Lucius Caesar had, and as I said, very much about conflict of interest between family and the state, and how he chose at different points of his career. To his honor, I think we should see that he wanted to avoid further bloodshed in many times of his career and his life, and wanted to kind of return into normal peaceful conditions, but he did that in a time when it was utterly impossible goal. There was no peace anymore to be had in the old way into Rome. Then next we will take a look at this other branch of the Julii Caesares, where we have the most famous representative of them all, obviously. And as said, this also comes from the offspring of the Praetor of 208. And Praetor of 166, Lucius Caesar, is the beginning point of this branch. And his son Gaius Julius Caesar became a senator and wrote a book about the history of Rome, and he wrote in Greek this book. That's all what we know about his career, but you can see also literary evidence here as well. He was married with Marcia, and Marcia was the daughter of Quintus Marcius Rex, and actually this Marcia was also an aunt to the Vestal Marcia, who died at 113, as we discussed in the earlier video, and when he had a forbidden affair with man. The daughter of this Gaius Julius Caesar and Marcia, Julia, married Gaius Marius. And this means that her husband and son were actively fighting against the other members of the family who ported Sulla. And also that if you go back a couple of steps, you will see that the granddaughters of the Praetor 208, they were these two granddaughters were married to Sulla and Marius, the opposing sides of the civil war. And I think this is extremely interesting family connection and really kind of what seems as unpassable rift between the two family lines, one aligned with Marius and one aligned with Sulla through marriage, and it's highly interesting choice. This Marcia and Gaius Julius Caesar also had two sons. Other became consul of 91, and this was also interesting because at year 90, as you remember, the Julius Caesar from the other branch of the family became consul. So I think it's expected that this consul of 91 paved the way for the consul of 90, Caesar. And the other son of Marcia and Gaius Julius Caesar was the father of the famous dictator Caesar. And obviously this consul of 91 had his consulship at historically very interesting moment, in a crucial moment really in the Roman history before the social war. And after his term, the civil war broke out. But interestingly, we don't have no information at all about his role. We don't know if he saw the civil war coming, if he tried to prevent it, or if his actions made the situation worse. We have absolutely no information at all what had happened. Is this lack of information coincidental? We don't know even that. During the war, we know that he was commander in the field, and he died at year 89 while he was sieging the city of Asculum. His son became a Flamen priest, and grandson died in soldiers' mutiny in Syria at year 46 during another civil war then. And of the marriages or political alliances of this sub-branch of this family we don't know anything at all. So this is kind of a black space there, or blank space in the history of Julii Caesares. We don't know that much about them at all. The other son of Marcia and Caesar married with Aurelia, and this is of course the important family line of the dictator Caesar. Father of Aurelia was the consul of 119, Lucius Aurelius Cotta. Parents of Cotta were the consul of 164, Cotta, and her mother was Rutilia. And this Rutilia was the sister of Publius Rutilius Rufus, consul of 105. So this means that Aurelia had consular family background on both from his father and from her mother's side, making her, if we are honest, more highly placed in society than her husband Caius Julius Caesar. So for one reason or another, Caius Julius Caesar had a very good luck in his marriage alignment. What's interesting is that as his sister was married with Caius Marius, this Caius Julius Caesar was also a supporter of Marius. And he reached praetorship in his career, and it is quite possible that he might have reached also the consulship, but he died suddenly at 85 for some kind of health problems. He had a quite good fortune and wealth, but and he left that in his will to his son Caius Julius Caesar. But dictator Sulla confiscated this. He didn't want to have the Marian supporters handing out inheritances to their children. And so this unexpected death left young Caius Julius Caesar to be raised alone by his mother Aurelia. And we can of course make kind of guesses and psychology profiles here, what that would meant to the personality of dictator Caesar. But in any case, this Aurelia, 3 of her half-brothers were consuls, and that also meant that the family of Aurelia, Aurelii Cottae, was at the height of the prestige at this moment. And their prestige and position also protected young Caius Caesar from many things. For example, when Caius Caesar married Cornelia Cinna, he was in his 20s, so he married pretty early for a Roman noble person. And dictator Sulla was opposed on this marriage because Cornelia's father, Cinna, was obviously the most important supporter of and ally of Marius. And dictator Sulla eventually even tried to force this Caesar and Cornelia to divorce. But Caesar refused this, and Aurelia and the brothers of her, half-brothers of her, came into help, and that was enough to protect the Caesar, and he didn't have to divorce Cornelia Cinna. However, what happened was that Cornelia Cinna soon died in childbirth, and this left Aurelia to be responsible also to upbringing of the Caesar's daughter Julia, because Cornelia wasn't anymore there, and the child would go to Caesar's mother and not to Cornelia's family. For second of his marriage, Caesar married Pompeia, and that is the daughter of the son of the consul 88 Pompeius Rufus. So this is from the different branch of the Pompeiid and Pompeius Magnus. And the grandmother of this Pompeia was Julia Cornelia, and who was the daughter of dictator Sulla and Julii Caesares, whom, if you remember, earlier was the daughter of Popilia and Lucius Julius Caesar. So this means actually that the marriage with Pompeia united the family of Gaius Julius Caesar not only with Sulla, got rid of the Marius connection there, but also brought together the two branches of the Julii Caesares in quite interesting way. And to finalize these contacts, there was a marriage between Caesars and Cornelia Cinna's daughter Julia and Pompeius Magnus, who was very loyal lieutenant of Sulla, or at least as long as it served his purposes. So there were a lot of political connections made through marriages, and through these marriages, the family alignment shifted from the camp of Marius into camp of Sulla very firmly. And this is a very interesting kind of moves that they made, their bold moves. When we consider these notable marriages, it's, I think, very contradicting and interesting that the sisters of Gaius Caesar, that is the daughters of Aurelia, married with quite insignificant figures instead. Julia the Elder married with Lucius Pinarius, and he was from the patrician family. It was an old patrician family, but Pinari hadn't been at the consular level for a long time, and it baffles mind why they chose this kind of alignment. The second husband was even less known, Quintus Pedius. Again, we don't know why, we have no idea. And what we know, or at least can suspect, is that probably she had children with both of these husbands, because in the will of Caesar there was a mention of some or donation to Pinarius and Pedius. So probably these were the children of his sister. Younger of the Julia sisters married Marcus Atilius Balbus, who was also from the modest background, and one really would have expected the daughters of Aurelia to marry higher. Julia and Attius had 3 daughters, and middle one of them was married with the praetor of 61, Gaius Octavius, and this is from the different branch of the Octavii than Marcus Octavius Creticus. Their son was known as Octavianus, or as we often refer him as Augustus. And Octavianus married the granddaughter of Marcus Fulvius Flaccus, whose daughter was also married with the consul of 90, Lucius Julius Caesar, as we remember. So here again we see these kind of family connections going around. And to wrap up the family line, Gaius Caesar, the dictator, married 3rd time after Cornelia Cinna and Pompeia. He was also married to Calpurnia. And this marriage took place at the year of 59, during the Caesar's first term as consul. And Calpurnia was only 17 years old when he was marrying 41-year-old Caesar. So there was a quite big age difference there, but not as big as there was between Pompeius Magnus and his later wives. Calpurnia, from her part, was the daughter of the consul, next year's consul, Lucius Calpurnius Piso Caesonianus and Rutilia. And I think this is also quite telling that Caesar married daughter of Calpurnius, and Calpurnius became consul next year. How convenient. In any case, Calpurnius' mother Rutilia was daughter of Publius Rutilius Nudus, and this Rutilius was somehow related to the Rutilia, who was the grandmother of Gaius Caesar himself. But we don't know the exact nature of this relationship. And Calpurni Pisones, on the other hand, they were important family in the Republic. They had 8 consuls during the last century of the Republic, so they were very influential and prestigious family. and that is quite a lot of more than Julii Caesares had. Father of Cornelia tried to remain neutral in the strife between the Caesar and the Senate. So I think that also tells that they didn't have to come to the aid of one of the husbands of the family daughters, which tells about kind of power balance originally between Calpurniae Pisones and Julii Caesares. Marriage of Calpurnia and Caesar was childless, and generally Calpurnia is described as loyal and quiet and shy person, and who didn't anyhow attract attention to herself, and also who put up with Caesar's affairs with other women silently. And by all accounts, it also seems that Calpurnia tried to stay clear of politics. She didn't want to meddle there. So it's a very, very interesting kind of marriage, which clearly is political and probably was even quite distant to each other in this respect, because they didn't have any offspring. That kind of closes up the family lines, and I don't want to go too deep into the life of Gaius Julius Caesar. There is more than enough material around about that. But I think this kind of overview of the Julii Caesares and their connections and the family culture brings much more context to the life of, also to the life of Gaius Julius Caesar himself. Also, we have to note that we don't know all of the family contacts they had. So there are quite many members of the family whose marriage we don't know anything about. So that's good to keep in mind. So there might have been many other contacts, and had to have been many other contacts as well, if we don't assume that all of those were in insignificant small families. For example, if we compare Julii Caesares with Caecili Metelli, for example, and Caecili Metelli and Licini Crassi were aligned with many family lines and many generations, and cooperated hundreds of years with each other. But in Julii Caesares we don't find that kind of favorite family to align with at all. Instead, what it seems is that the Julii Caesares wanted to expand connections into many families, and in a sense this makes sense because Julii Caesares was a family with low number of members, and if one member was executed by by aligning with someone wrong person in the politics, then others would be protected by their contacts. So for a small family, this strategy is not anyhow impossible or unthinkable. Then on the other hand, there seems to be lacking some kind of ambition or planning, for example, in the marriages. If you, for example, check the marriages of Pompeius Magnus, they were clearly designed to be climbing in the social ladder one step after another. So this kind of ambition, even as ambitious as Julii Caesares were, clearly was lacking this kind of systematical ambition of doing things. Instead, I think what we can see in the actions and marriage decisions of the Julii Caesares is that they were taking a lot of risks, and they were willing to take even the risks with impossible looking odds to succeed, which is a different kind of ambition than for example what Pompeius Magnus had, who was much more calculating and calm and rational in his calculations and career building. We also can note that there were some dynastic marriage arrangement, and they were actually to unite Julii Caesares lines back to the family, and not to align with any other family. And for me, this almost seems like the beginning of imperial family culture that a ruling regal dynasty would have to protect its own bloodline, and instead of expanding into all possible directions. So I think we can see here in the Julii Caesares this kind of even conflicting and interesting kind of novel thinking when it comes to marriages and family lines. Overall, in family strategies, the marriages and political careers are most employed by the different family members of this family. There is also quite a lot of religious offices and usage of wealth in order to gain importance in the society. And then there is, of course, this one individual who has a very strong military career and who is also widely considered to be among the finest Roman generals of all time. Taking of risks, even reckless risks, seems to be one of the hallmarks of the Julii Caesares in many ways and many occasions. If you consider, for example, Gaius Caesar's career and how he freed himself from the pirates, and the kind of decisions he made in politics and war, and also the kind of decisions he made after he had won the civil war, how he started to shape the Roman state into something quite different than what it had been before his times. These are risk-taking decisions. They are not conservative decisions that aim in restoring the old order. No, they are building of something new, something different. And one might even ask that did, for example, Gaius Caesar himself even knew what he was building when he was changing the republic to become an empire for Octavianus. But it's interesting that the Julii Caesares had this kind of spirit in the family, that they didn't want to stay in the background. They didn't want to see where the events would take them. They wanted to shape the history and shape the events, and that is, if not exceptional in the Roman history, but it is certainly not the most common family culture and means of building the importance of the family. And I think we can say safely that the family culture in any case was oriented towards regal family cohesion. And this kind of I think regal or imperial ambition is also what sets them apart from other noble families. And I think it's also logical to assume that these kind of tendencies were visible for the people of that age, for the contemporaries. And that might also be one of the reasons why the contemporaries already, when Gaius Caesar was making his decisions, accused him of having ambitions to be king of the Romans. And the Republican Rome really abhorred the idea of king. So I think in family culture here we can see references into that direction already. That was all about this family, and the point I wanted to make is that if we look only one individual and his deeds in the history of Rome, we might not get the whole picture. We might not see all the connections and all the influences and motivations that there are. And I think examining the family of Julii Caesares can give us a bit different perspective than what is usual in the Roman history, because usually we see Gaius Caesar as this kind of a distant character that is set apart from everybody else. But if you consider his family background and the family alignments, the actions of and activities of other members of this family, I think his actions also start to kind of fall into some kind of context and become easier to understand where he got his ideas. and what sort of character he really was through his family and connections. Okay, that was all, and thank you, and I hope that we will see with some other family in the future. Thank you.